Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome back to another episode of Midnight Reality, where I will try to have an intelligent conversation on a very serious topic as long as I can before I start to break down mentally and it will devolve into a clown show of some kind. But it'll probably be pretty serious and pretty interesting before it does that for the first 15 or 20 minutes. Now, we've never done this before. I've never made a dedicated video just on this topic. And your comments are far more important. The collective notion of what this thing is far more important than like what I think it is. And I'll give you my opinion at the end. I'll float all the different possibilities that I'm aware of. So I'm going to have to, if somebody has a comment just about a bunch of nonsense, I'm going to try to clean up comments here as much as possible. So the question is, what is space? What is outer space? Is there a difference between close to what they call the Earth to outer space? What is inner space? What is inner Earth? Mostly we're going to concentrate what is outer space. And if anybody new going, what the hell? Well, we're told what it, that's the rule of opposites. We're so appreciative that Neil of the grass-fed Pikachu tells us, then we know that's not it. That you just do the rule of opposites. Now, we don't know it's exactly opposite in this case of what Neil Pikachu says it is, but we appreciate what they tell us because we know that's not it. Of all the possibilities, we could just cross that one off. That is a given, 100%. So 1 minute or less, if anybody's new, what Stephen Hawking, the voice box man, says, Mitch, what he says, Neil, I'm going to say his name properly because we need to respect him more, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Who else? Brian Cox, all of these puppet frauds of the Ministry of Information. What do they tell us? Okay, 30 seconds or less. Matt, we know what they this outer space, the role of Carl Sagan, in my opinion, in the late 70s through outer 80s, the outer 80s, outer space, you're already breaking down, Matt. His role, Carl Sagan's role, was to stress the billions. If you remembered one thing from him, it was the billions and billions. Not just solar systems. Now there's billions of galaxies. And it makes it so infinitesimal what you are in this little blip of this little thing inside these billions and billions. That was Carl Sagan's role. All these frauds play a part for the Notnook and the Ministry of Information. So we know what they say it is. Burning suns. And our sun's just some tiny little like light bulb, a piece of shit 40-watt thing. There's these suns that are like thousands of times bigger, like Betelgeuse or Beetlejuice and all this shit. They tell us that, then we know that's not it. If Mitch Pikachu stands before you holding whatever, a banana, and he declares this is a banana, we know 100% it's not a banana. If George Bush lands on a carrier and gets out and declares victory or whatever, mission accomplished, he said, we know it's the opposite of that. There'll be not just more missions, but it's the whole thing's fraudulent. You just take the opposite. Okay, we all know that by now. The mainstream notion of what outer space is, for example, what the hell? Exists in this reality system. Exists. What the hell's wrong with me? Exists in this reality system to make a spiritual being feel insignificant. It's not like, let's get one thing straight. It's not like they're jury-rigging, everything's fake, okay? No, let's say there are scientific calculations, they're math. It all supports what reality itself is telling these idiot scientists about the nature of the universe. I'm sure there's tons of calculations. It's not all fake and everybody in on it and they're just laughing, having sips of $1,000 cognac. The universe is reflecting that. But the whole reality system with these creeps playing a role is meant so the incredibly powerful spiritual being feels insignificant. That's one of the reasons we're here. Don't we know that by now? And anybody new might not quite have gotten that. I'm not saying the old guard necessarily agrees with everything, but at least they understand where I'm coming from. And could you imagine if my friend Tony is listening to this? Let me restate. It's not like, of course, what the scientists say outer space is. Nobody here believes that. Nobody listening, other than a few stragglers or Tony or whatever. Nobody believes the Carl Sagan notion of the cosmos, of the universe. I'm not saying then they're not. It's not as simple as the first grade truther. Then they're all faking it. They're all in on it. The reality itself, in my opinion, is reflecting that potentially back through the Richard Feynman experiments. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. No, Richard, you're wrong. We'll talk about that later. Maybe I'll even show a clip from him. You know how I like to make fun of that speech. The entire reality is reflecting what these scientists are saying to a degree. They're not all just faking it in on it. The entire reality is set up to make a real spiritual being seem insignificant. What's that Damien Rice song? Life taught me to die. You have no notion of the end of your existence until you come into a place like this. It wasn't feasible before you came into a place like this. So the whole reality has to support the notion that this could be the end of your existence. It has to be believable. You just one little tiny thing, and there's billions and billions of people here, and then the camera zooms back like the beginning of Jerry Maguire. That's the United States. And the United States still sets the tone for the rest of the world, or whatever he says. Hey, Jerry, no, it doesn't. Maybe it did in the 70s whenever that movie was made. You know what sets the tone for the rest of the world now? Chinese manufacturing and Foxconn jumper nets. Then it zooms back the solar system. Then you're just some tiny, and you get smaller and more insignificant and smaller and more insignificant. The whole reality is set up to reflect that, and fool a real spiritual being, so we can experience insignificance, probably for the first time. Tell me that doesn't sync up. Well, I can't even say it. There's something trying to block me. Tell me that doesn't sync up with your inner knowing. Of course it does. It's obvious at this point, but most of our friends and family believe in Mitch Pikachu. Matt, out of the leading frauds like Neil deGrasse and Mitch EO, Brian Cox, Steven VoiceBox Man when he was still here, which one do I dislike the most? Without a doubt, Michio Kaku. Neil deGrasse Tyson, is arrogant. He's not likable, but he's not sinister. He's like a big buffoon. You wouldn't mind sitting down having a coffee and a donut with him. I mean, I would. We wouldn't like that. Let's be honest. But he's not a threat. Let's say he was interested in your girlfriend. Would you really be concerned? No, of course not. Well, if Michio Kaku was interested in your girl, well, that's different. Okay, Brian Cox is some little buffoon. VoiceBox Man isn't here anymore. So Michio. Ooh, he really believes he's so clever and so smart. I guess what really set me off was, remember the interview where the 7-Eleven job application, the big day in 2001, came up, and he turned his fangs on the interviewer. Oh, you're a denier. And then he's like, oh, could you? Sometimes I just dream that I could have been conducting that interview and he could have turned on me. Oh my goodness, that's one of my dreams in life. Michio, I'm not that big on YouTube, but you're still out there, my man. Please come on Quantum of Conscious. I don't do no shows. I don't do no guests. Make a total exception for you, Michio. I'll get you food. I'll get you you ever have a Philly cheesesteak, Michio? You want to try one? I'll go to Pat's, Geno's, whatever you want. You want to do it remotely like a Skype call? I'll mail you the cheesesteak via FedEx. Whatever you want, as long as I'll make an exception. I don't do no shows. I don't do no guests. If Michio agrees to be a guest, we welcome him here at Quantum of Conscious, and I'll show respect for the first 50 seconds. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. In general, a little bit of a summary first. This is what 90% of our community generally believes, that nobody gets into a piece of metal and can go anywhere. Nobody's ever gotten into a piece of metal and has gone anywhere. Who knows? In Apollo missions, they did go up there, but to study a relatively local moon or sun, okay, just to get closer to it. I mean, there's no space travel from our perspective. Most people in this community don't believe all these little dots in the sky, stars, are these gigantic burning things like suns, just radiating the same heat that the sun does here, but out there, like Betelgeuse or whatever. I'd say 85 to 90% don't believe suns are even anything even resembling what Neil says or what Carl Sagan would say. That brings us to planets, and still speaking for our group here, more than 90%, Tony, if you're listening, believe that there ain't nothing that can be landed on. We don't know what they are. You can't take your ship and your laser blasters and your thrusters and bounce your ball. You can't go reverse your ship and there's nothing Matt Damon can land on. It cannot be. Maybe there's one thing that can land on Venus, that damn thing that Steve Austin, the $6 million man, fought. That robot that was set up to survive the harsh conditions of Venus, we believe that thing was on Venus because it makes that $6 million man episode, other than Bigfoot episode, better than any other. But nothing other than that can be landed on. Matt, don't you want to differentiate between a gas giant and a physical planet like Mars? No, I don't see the difference. I don't believe there was no Cassini probe that was sent out around Saturn. My heroes don't appear on no stamp or no Cassini probe. We don't buy it. We don't know what they are. But Matt Damon, Elon Musk, none of those sons of bitches are going. But remember what, I alluded to a few minutes back. We'll continue to speculate what is space, but in terms of the most important part of all of this, all that matters, where we win, is, do you agree or see it the way that I do? The entire reality is set up so immensely powerful beings believe they are insignificant, at least while they're here. Entities like you and I, we don't understand our spiritual nature, but we're not supposed to. That's why we're here, to be Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. But this whole reality is set up so entities like us, of a spiritual nature, with a part of us or links out of here, or that's much larger than here, to fool us. Not just the minions and the creeps, the whole reality to fool us and to believe we're nothing more than this little insignificant thing where the atheism creeps in, and we're just a speck on one little planet in one little solar system. Oh, what are we now, in the Orion arm or the Sagittarius arm? And you back up, and that's just one little part of a galaxy, and that's all there is, right? No, that galaxy, this Milky Way candy bar son of a bitch, there's billions of them, and then probably alternate universes. Maybe that's the point of all this multiverse shit. Like every Marvel movie, or what was it, Doctor Strange, and all these superhero movies, it's multiverse, 40 million different versions of Kang, and all this multiverse. Maybe, look, are you back? Wait, the hell? You're saying all this stuff appears in movies in the last 10 years about multiverse and parallel universes to make your broke-ass spiritual being self feel even smaller? I'm saying it's absolutely a possibility. Maybe they sat down at a creepy table. They said, Carl Sagan, who's no longer with us, he did a great job in the late 70s and early 80s when people watched that NOVA program, making people really started, we did surveys and focus groups. They felt smaller and smaller, and even more atheism creeped in. Isn't that wonderful? Look at our test results. But it's not good enough. We need to always do more. It's the Terminator. It never stops. What can we do? We can do a whole series of movies with not just that this universe has billions and billions of galaxies and trillions of planetary civilizations where the aliens just can't get here because it's too far, they can't fly their ships, but there's trillions of Earths that all can support life. They've all quote unquote prove that to everybody, but that's not good enough because they can never stop. That's not good enough to make people feel insignificant. Then we'll say there's trillions of other universes. That'll make these sons of bitches feel even more insignificant. Should we do it? Yeah, get to work. Call Steven Spielberg. Get his broke ass in here. He needs money, doesn't he? I think most of you would agree. I can speak for the old guard. The big picture, the final question, we already have answered. We've already won. The whole reality, every bit of it, is here to make you feel insignificant. And here we go again, the same two sentences, to hide your true nature, to hide and cover up one arm of, as the way we put it, the Vitruvian man, sleeping on the beach your entire life. One hand's in the sand. You don't even know it's there. That's the spiritual arm. One hand's in the sand. You just think you have one arm. You don't even know. All you got to do is roll over. The other arm comes out. Boom, there it is. Nobody knows. The whole reality is to hide that. One way it hides the spiritual nature from people is to make the reality they're in seem much, much greater than themselves. See how this is resonating with your inner knowing? How first grade this is? So now it's time to pick on Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman's a likable guy. He was the first physicist in the known universe to ever have a personality. That's why he became so famous. Now, he was brilliant in many respects. He could put that calculus in front of me. I don't know what to do with it. I'd have a bowl of soup on it. He's smarter than me, of course, in most areas. But most of these smart guys, not another word, smart guy. Most of these smart guys, they don't understand or they can't see the most general picture of what reality itself is doing. You don't have to be no Mensa member to see. In fact, more Mensa you are, the more you're fooled by the reality. To see through reality and its trick is all that matters. The intelligence of operating in this place doesn't matter. I'm dumb in all those areas, but people here, we see the basic trick. That's all that matters in this entire experience. We needed to believe in it for a long time. For us to do the work we needed to do here, we needed to be fooled. We needed to believe in it. Matt, wouldn't it have been better if we woke up the way we are now at 5 or 10 years old? No, it wouldn't have. We needed to be fooled. That's part of the whole experience. Be happy. Be thankful that you were fooled. So back to Richard Feynman, the physicist. He gave that famous speech to those college kids. He said, if it disagrees with experiment, It's wrong. Oh, could we go back in time? Me, you, a few of us, we could sit in the back row. When he said that, we could be right there in that classroom, raise our hands. Ooh, 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 ooh. No questions till the end. Now, I demand to ask this question. Now, what is it? You just said, sir, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Well, that's right. No, that's dead wrong, sir. Then Richard says back, what you mean, boy? You better explain yourself. You in this class, you're going to get an F. I'll see to your professor. Richard, you operate right now inside of a false construct. That false construct gives your senses that basically work for the reality itself, basically a false set of information. So your brain interprets what the reality is per what you would call real information coming from your bullshit experiments, comes in through your senses. Your senses see are double agents for the reality itself, as your body and your ego mind is. You're interpreting exactly correct, but what the reality is wanting you to interpret about who you are and your place in this place, which at the root level is false. Now, Richard, did you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Well, no, I didn't, but you better explain yourself, boy. You got one more chance before you F. Mr. Flanagan, F. Cocktails and Dreams, F. Okay, Richard, now here you said if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong, right? You said that. Oh, yeah, of course. That's what I said. Okay. Now, if it disagrees with experiment, it doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. It just means that the reality is giving you false information to hide your spiritual self and your true nature per the information that's coming in through your experiments. Your experiments are correct in terms of what reality wants you to believe about this place. Do you understand that? Your experiments are correct in terms of what reality wants you to believe about this place. But what reality wants you to believe about this place in yourself is wrong at the root level. So your experiments can never be productive. Do you understand now? Get this fucker out of here. Okay, so we're let out of the classroom. Let's leave Richard Feynman behind. But basically, per this reality, I'm now just talking to you, we're no longer in the classroom. The biggest lie of all time is what Richard said. He's trying to do the best he can, trying to work with empirical data, whatever that means. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. No, if it agrees with your scientific experiments about this place, then per the only thing that matters, who we are, navigating this place, rediscovering our nature, then if it agrees with your experiment, it's wrong. It's exactly the opposite of what he said in terms of the only thing that matters. So in terms of the main purpose of this video, or at least getting back to it, what is space? We could say we'll start with the stars. Okay, what are the stars? They're in terms of our community, of course, this is all over the place as to what all of this may be, with all of us agreeing that we don't agree with the physicists and NASA and things like that. So some in our community would even say the stars, or the number of billions that are up there, actually match the real souls or spirits that are here. And one of those stars is actually a reflection of yourself, or it could be all the real people that have ever been in this reality system. You're in a way seeing them, related to the as above, so below, and like a lot of way out theories. I mean, we'll dabble in a few of them, but that's not the main point of my presentation. The main point is that, the basic point that was just made, that the main question, I think we agree, or we've already answered, that no matter what is out there, the cosmos, it's designed, in the stars might not be yourself or anything like it. Literally could just be part of the trick here, because the main part of the trick, to me, it's clear, it's obvious, it's one sentence. You come in here, Tommy, and you are fooled into believing that you're nothing. And that's exactly the experience we're supposed to have. Okay, it's not a Saturn moon matrix recycling. Blah, blah, blah. That's the experience we're supposed to have. Doesn't that resonate with your inner knowing? You have to come in fooled. That Damien Rice song, Cannonball, life taught me to die. Where you learn about death. You go to some classroom, be a spiritual self, says, I want to take the class. I don't want to do that thing called Earth. I should put up Bill's poster. Welcome to Earth as it as a big top or whatever. You got to go in. It's the only place you can probably get a sense of mortality, the end of existence. I don't want to go into Earth. Can't I just take the car? You said this as a spiritual being before you came here, say the equivalent 150 years ago, Earth years. You said, I want to take the correspondence class through the Spiritual University of Phoenix. I don't want to go in and do it. It's too hard. I'm sorry, there ain't no spiritual correspondence class by mail. You can't experience truly understanding that with the end of existence, or questioning that you may be nothing or insignificant inside of billions and billions. You have to go feel that. Somebody said to you, we ain't got no class here that tells you about complete and utter feeling of insignificance, because you go into that class up here, quote, knowing what you are. You go down there, you will feel, at least for a short while, complete and utter insignificance. So much so that I believe this is the main driver of religion, that you need something else, something much bigger than yourself to get you out. I believe the notion of religion backs up exactly what I'm saying. It's, once again, making you feel very small. You have no way to do it yourself. You need something else to do it for you. I don't buy that. Now, the way I've put that, and I've put it that way many times over the years, and I appreciate the Christians that are here, but it is amazing in the comments, they don't slap the Satanism tag on that. Oh, you got your Jay-Z t-shirt, Matt. Do what thou wilt. And Matt, you can do it yourself. You don't need God. It's amazing in the comments that tag hasn't been slapped. It's not Satanism at all. But isn't Satanism then a worship of needing that route to get out? Oh, we need the Satanism would say, right? We need Satan or Lucifer as the. I'm saying I don't think we need none of it. I think the reality is fooled into making us believe that we are nothing and we are on our own, much greater than this place. It's that simple. There is no tag to put on it. We existed before birth. It's very simple. And when it's this simple, you can't place no tag on it. We existed before birth in some form. We're supposed to be Tommy here, deaf, dumb, and blind kid. We're not supposed to know who we were. We're supposed to be fooled. For a while, supposed to believe we're insignificant. We existed before birth. We'll exist after death, and we'll be better off from this experience. That ain't no religious tag, that ain't Satanism, that ain't Lucifer, that ain't nothing, but it's just a very basic belief that resonates with a lot of people's inner knowing. That's it. Make more out of it if you want to. So in terms of what we started talking about initially, what is space? I think to get into the weeds, as this is the trick reality always plays on us, would be the wrong thing to do. It's always the wrong thing to do to get into its bog, to get into its weeds, even on topics like this. So, for example, somebody wants to put forth the waters. It's water up there, Matt, and try to tell me what it is physically. Then that person would be missing the point, in my opinion. The water's above, the water's below. It doesn't matter what it is physically. If you could go up there in your Gemini, Mercury, Apollo ship, and you could touch something, or it's like it's a plasma, that's getting into its bog and its weeds. It doesn't matter what it is. From my perspective, I see it as part of the reality trick. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It's part of all of reality trick to get me to believe that I'm something here while I'm in the flesh that's not really me. I'm not going to get into its bog, into its weeds. I'm not going to say, here's exactly what I think space is, or up at the upper ionosphere, if you could fly up there, here's what you would touch, or that. Then that's getting and playing the game that it wants. Here's a rule of this reality that I don't think has ever been broken. Any sort of Richard Feynman examination as to the physical, or how this works in the physical, or out there in the rings of reality, any examination or experiment, not if it's done to try to improve your washing machine, so it cycles better, that's fine. Or so a car gets 10 more miles per gallon, fine, whatever. Okay, if it's done, that experiment or analysis, to tell you about yourself, it is a waste of time. Let that sink in. If the research or experiment, or think even the trap we were going to fall into here, what is space? Oh, it's the waters, it's a plasma, it's this, it's that, it's foam, it's that. If you are examining anything physical, and out of that examination or experiment, you're trying to get something that tells you about yourself, where you came from, it's a 100% waste of time, part of the trick. Therefore, any experiment that is trying to prove or disprove Darwin's theory of evolution, anything along that line, if the person's trying to understand themselves, they've wasted their time. 100% never violated from the beginning of time, in my opinion. I can't talk too good today. So let's apply this rule, or try to plug it in 1,000 different places to see if it holds up. Let's just assume, for example, here, CERN is what they say it is. I know it's funny. Just let it go. And let's say they're trying to determine the origins of the universe, and CERN is what they say. Per our rule, it's a complete waste of time, scientists. I know there are other possibilities of what CERN is. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. This isn't my first rodeo. Been doing this a while, I know. But if that's what it is, the origins of the universe, complete waste of time. The universe will tell you false things as part of the general reality trick. Examining splat turf, I can't say it, I don't want no banner ad. Splat turf research versus hollow King Kong research versus globe, 100% a waste of time. Examining the physical to try to tell you something you can use to tell you about yourself, always a waste of time. Sorry. Hey, we all went through it and made mistakes. Just saying those that are continuing to do the splat turf now and pushing that, they're completely fooled. Tartaria, endless Tartaria research. It's the reality showing you the entire reality is a trick. Endless architecture examples. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing every single time. Plug it in the same way. The entire reality is a trick. The massive architecture, what does that do? You can't build it now, can you? You poor sons of bitches. You poor devils can't do it now. That means you're insignificant. See how it's always pushing. Tartaria, this grand thing. You don't have that now. You're insignificant. It gives itself away. We'll add to our list. We're going to do the next chapter. Always making you, absolutely adding to our list. Every presentation makes you small, whether Tartaria, whatever it may be. Examining the physical to tell you, if somebody comes forth with Tartaria research, that Matt, I'm just fascinated by all this, the grandiose architecture, and I'm not looking at it, Matt, to tell me about myself. It's a hobby of mine, and shut your mouth. Okay, then I'll shut my mouth. Why do we do truth research at all? Isn't that the ultimate to find out about ourselves? Does one not bridge into the other? Well, if it's just a hobby, then I'm sorry. And I apologize. And I feel very ashamed. I was thinking, can the Stephen voice box ever be put up through the Christie's Rothschild's auction? Can I get a hold of it? However I get it, whether we can auction, can I get the Stephen's voice box? And then I don't have to make videos. I just say record. Entire reality trick. Entire reality trick. Entire reality trick. A bouncer ball bouncer. The entire reality trick. Matt, should I look into this? The entire reality trick. Matt, what about this sort of research and investigation of the outer screen? The entire reality trick. If I could get that damn voice box, I could go to Caesar's Palace. I could take huge, luxurious vacations. Pacific Princess, Captain Steubing, Vicky. I just pushed that. I could still make 5 videos a week. Get me the Stephen voice box, anybody that has access to it, with or without the Christie's auction. So let me get this straight, Mr. Matt, and say this like Don Johnson in one of the opening scenes in Django where he meets the dentist, the doctor, in Django for the first time. Let me get this straight. You and your Jimmy, no appointment, no nothing. Matt, you come up here and you say no point in investigating this or that, or no experiment that tries to tell us about ourselves, or examining the Lucifer bones, or just all of the reality, including this presentation of space through incredible calculation and the imperfect prediction of when Halley's Comet's going to everything is a trick to get a real spiritual being to believe it is inconsequential and to actually take up the notion of atheism. Yes, that's what I believe. Did you think for years I've been saying it's the same 2 sentences over and over for no reason? Well, if it's the same 2 sentences, how you make 28-minute video? I don't know. It's the same 2 sentences. Somehow we can turn it into long and luxurious videos. I don't know. But the point is, we have fun with it. Always comes back to the same place, doesn't it? Maybe this can just turn into a joke channel. Let's try it right now. We don't need to keep talking. There's 2 sentences. Why we talk reality over and over again? Just a kid came to my door the other day. I answered the door. He said, we're looking for support for the local swimming pool. So I went and got him a glass of water. Do you want that? We could do that. I don't have too many more of them. There's only a few that I know, but I could get a book and read them out if anybody's interested in that. So in terms of how this video began with the notion of what is space? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt. It doesn't, you know what the ultimate conclusion is? It's fun to ponder. It doesn't matter one bit. Doesn't matter. In fact, when you really get the notion that it just doesn't matter, you kind of lose interest in it. I'm interested in what I am here to do, who I am, what I need to do. You just lose interest in it. The Not Nilk's thrilled with all these outside screen interests, like Mudflood. Not Nilk's thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled with it. Keeps you away. Now, if you're doing, Matt, again, it's a hobby. I'm doing my self-work. I take it back. But how many are? Very few. Very few. Not Nilk loves these types of hobbies and investigations. If it does get in the way of what you're supposed to do. And for most truth pursuits, it does, of course. That's why the reality is a conspiracy generation machine. Of course it gets in the way. People don't even have any clue. We're just starting to understand what we need to do in that other side of things in part two. I mean, we're a long way of having the more important part figured out. Remember years ago, 5-7 years ago, all arrogant, Matt and everybody else, we see through the trick, we win. It's like, that was just the first step. Are you kidding me? I put that out in videos. That we see through the trick. We're only the 1% of the 1%. We're the winners here in this reality. No, that's just entering kindergarten, dude. Yeah, I was wrong. The idea in general of false reality, it's nothing new, that concept, to say the people here. We're doing it right now via the book chapters. First section's done. How reality gives itself away is false. The second half, another hour coming. How reality gives itself away is false. If you're, say, Mandela affected, you don't need anything else. Just that one thing. Reality's false. If you're not Mandela affected, well, there's like 17 or 18 other major categories. Once it's false, then if it's false, then it's false. If one part of it's false, then all of it's false. Then why examine it like it's real in any way? I mean, give me a break. What a waste of time joke. If I come to the conclusion that reality is false, and I have 18 major categories and 2 hours of different examples, then why do I care if what the mall event's being presented or the school event and what happened, and people still send me that stuff? Look at this news. Why would I care? Why do I care about the detail of one story if I've already come to the conclusion years ago the entire reality is false for it's false presentation for a lot of reasons. The main point in this presentation is to make me feel insignificant. And once again, to hide who I am from myself. The same sentence. Once I come there, why do I care about the details? People will send me details of an event or something in the news. Why? Now, if it's funny and it should be presented on Free Voice and we can just make fun of it and laugh, that's one thing. But some sort of serious, Matt, do you think this mall event is for school events? Why would I care? Well, how are they pulling it off? I don't care. It's a reality breakdown, the things on the ground are pulled off. You want me to go back in the bog and weeds and examine that? That's the whole point of this channel, is to get away from that, see the reality's false at the outer screen layer, the highest level, then every other presentation it tries to get you, it puts its little sugar candy out, it wants you to take it from its hand. We don't do it. That's the same second sentence, back sentence. It's all a waste of time. One of the things that gave reality away more than anything else, and what was most fascinating to me, or one of the most fascinating things for me to examine, say 4 or 5 years ago, was its desperation to be believed in, the reality itself, the minions on behalf of supporting the screen, how desperate it is to be believed in from birth to death, how hard it works to be believed in. And at first it seems like, well, that's part of its trick to harvest energy or loosh. But yeah, these role players, they work for themselves, but they also work for reality itself. They're also doing the job that they're intended to do. Because again, for us to have this experience, we have to believe in it. We have to be fooled for many decades. Most people go through here, of course, being fooled their entire lives. What percentage? It's fascinating to think about that have gone through here, going back thousands of years. I mean, who knows how long? The bog wants us back there too. The screen wants us back there too. All we can say is, ourselves and maybe 4 or 5 generations back, and history completely breaks down. But how many have gone through this thing called Earth from cradle to grave fooled? Because we think of the old generations of the 17 or 1800s as simpletons, just with their beasts of burden in the plows and the fields. And we think of them as simpletons. That's the way it's been presented to us, with their black powder muskets and their swords and so we would have to say, oh, almost all of them were fooled. But we don't know. I mean, they're presented to us as simpletons. It doesn't matter. Most people, we agree, right? Most who have ever lived, most go through cradle to grave fooled in this reality. Fooled about what this place is. Not that we have it all figured out, but at least we're open-minded and we go into different places. They're fooled about what this place is, who they are, where they came from. They 99% go through fooled. And I'm not saying we have it all figured out, but at least we've broken the pattern. I think it's very positive. I'll close with this. It's kind of like I want it to be a scene in a sci-fi novel, and I don't even know how this is related to what we've been talking about, but in some way it is. It's Stalled Century, but in some way it's related, I guess, to the master trick that's being played here. If this was ever done in a movie, I don't know how it'd be done. It's fascinating to me. So let me just tell you what the idea is, because it's not going to come out right initially. The scene involves Vanna White. Yeah, you're not going to talk about Vanna White again. Yeah. Just stick with me here. This is fascinating to me. And if I can set the scene in the sci-fi opening chapter, I'll try to do that. But okay, Vanna White. Let's just say she started turning letters on Wheel of Fortune, 1980. Okay, it's been around 45 years. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up. It's been around 45 years. Say it's 1980. So she's still doing it now, is my understanding. So roughly, I didn't spend weeks in the Library of Congress in the census area, but roughly 5 billion people have come and gone, birth to death, knowing nothing other in their entire lives than Vanna White turning letters on Wheel of Fortune, or still turning letters. Roughly not 20 people have come and gone, roughly 5 billion people have come and gone. So the scene from the sci-fi short story or movie, the camera's 5 billion people with infants or babies in their crib, whatever year it may be, 1980, 1985, 1992, 1995, showing Vanna turning letters the week or day of birth. They're in their hospice. They're in their hospital bed. They're at home, whatever it may be. Now, nobody, because the 5 billion, it was 1980, nobody could say depending on when she started, could be much over age 50, or it wouldn't be birth to death. But for those 5 billion, a lot of people obviously don't live past 50. About 5 billion have come and gone, in my opinion. I don't know, okay? But it's been billions. So that person, unbeknowing that Vanna White was turning letters when they were in the crib the first few days, they're watching the same thing, the same woman in their hospice as they pass away. I mean, this to me is just, it's mind-boggling to me that many people could start and end their life between the turning of the letters of the same person. I don't know if you're going to see that the way I see it, or how fascinated I am by it. I don't know if that was in any way expressed to you. And I know I don't think it was. Some of you's yelling at me, right? Matt, that wasn't shit. That was boring. I waited to the end of this video for that horse shit. I don't know. I think a lot of you will find it fascinating. I don't think I presented it the right way. The bookends of Vanna White turning the letters. And I guess the consequences, or the amazing experience of this life journey, and how we bitch about a lot of it, guys, but it is incredible that once a day I see something, and the appreciation, and I don't want more of this. I'm ready to get out of here, but I see something and go, that is absolutely incredible. Or, I mean, just, I don't know. I'm so different than I was 15 or 20 years ago. So there is amazing, some of the experiences here. And to bookend that with the trivial nature of the ultimate expression of not milk bullshit, the turning of the letters and the spell of the Wheel of Fortune, to bookend amazing life experiences that hopefully all those 5 billion got out of it, even if they were fooled. The no consequences people, and Tony, the other Tony, they say, the higher self takes from everybody, from every incarnation. It takes what it needs, even if that incarnation was fooled. And to bookend an amazing life experience, even if someone was fooled with the absolute, I don't even know what's worse than trivial. I mean, I don't have the synonym. Maybe this is why I should consider the Ray Kurzweil brain chip. Matt, if you had the brain chip, the Ray Kurzweil 1.1, you could then download the synonyms as you're talking and then sound smarter. I don't know. Ultimate triviality. I maybe just make a word up, of Vanna White's turning letters as the bookend of life itself. That fascinates me. Matt, that wasn't shit. You better do better. I don't know. I'll try to do better next time. Thanks for listening.